Hi, this is Matthew Lights, CEO of RoachClip.com, and this is another edition of the Cannabis Chronicles. Today we're joined by Rudy Reyes, a San Diego activist, politician, and local hero.
Thank you.
Rudy is probably best known for his heroic acts during the 2003 Cedar Fires in the state of California. And Rudy, if you don't mind, could you maybe give us a little bit of the background story?
My name's Rudy Reyes. I was the worst injured, or one of the worst injured, the only person going in on the first night during the Cedar Fires. In 2003, October 26th, here in San Diego, we had what is now recorded as the biggest California fire, maybe up to recently when we had those new fires that are happening in, well, nationally until Colorado. Long story short, I ended up being woken up with a little bit of warning, but that night there were no firemen. And all of our fire team was in another county, Riverside County, fighting a whole nother fire that was going on at the exact same time. So the fire which had started, it was chosen not to really attack it, to let it try to burn itself out. By about 3:30 that morning, it was miles long, moving about 40 to 60 miles an hour. I woke up to the smell of smoke, and my main instinct is get everybody out. Get your family, get your friends, get everybody out, right? After I went and saved my mom and got her out and warned her, I went to the neighbors and got them out. And then I went to the next door neighbors and got them out. It's kind of an odd situation to be knocking on somebody's door at 4 o'clock in the morning and tell them to get the heck out of their house. It's going to burn down on them. But that's what I was doing. After I basically played the Paul Revere and went door to door, I had to make a run out for myself. So I got myself back to my car. And as I was trying to start the car up, the fire was so close, so large, it was consuming all the usable oxygen. My car wouldn't even spark or turn over or even have an ignition sound, no chick-chick sound or anything. So I had to make some last-minute decisions. One of which was go in my house, wet myself down, and try to figure a way through this fire. So my story basically goes is I covered my face and made a run through maybe half a football field thick of fire, moving at about 40 miles an hour, probably about 20 feet tall. Because of the water that was on my body, most of my damage is not direct fire damage. I was never on fire. Mine is steam. The clothes that was wet, that had water, and the water that was on me basically steamed and vaporized most of my flesh. I sit here in front of you as a 70% burn survivor. Usually burn survivors don't live past about 30%. One of the big reasons I lived was because I made a trade-off. The steam damage destroyed a lot of the outer flesh, but the actual clothes never got into the flesh to infect it. And they'll tell you as a burn survivor, they lose most of their survivors due to the fact that the infection kills them. Not so much the burns, but the infection. Well, I spent about 2 months of induced a coma, of which I was very, very hurt. And they had to literally put me out for 2 months to endure the pain that I was going through. When I woke up, it was nothing but morphine. And you gotta remember, now I got 2 months of induced morphine time. So I woke up to surgery number 28, and more surgeries on the way. They end up running out of options at about a year being in the hospital. My body started to literally OD on the morphine, and they had no other options as what they could do because nothing is as strong as morphine. Everything else is a step down. After a minute, the doctors came up with the idea, hey, we're in California. Let's try medical marijuana. Well, I'm there sitting in UCSD, our premier burn ward, and they're going to allow me to try medical marijuana there. So at first I was questionable, but they said, hey, you can do this. We're going to allow you to have edibles and eat it as your method of ingestion. And at first, I was very questionable myself because compared to morphine, you shoot up a shot of morphine and your pain is gone for a few hours practically. Well, this was more like watching Gilligan's Island. I wasn't preoccupied with the pain. It was set to the side for a minute, and I was allowed to enjoy a quality of life. Well, that alone is it right there. If you can find a way to enjoy quality of life, you've found the key to life again. Because under the morphine, I wasn't having a quality of life at all. It was a horrible living as that was. So I get out, and I basically started to do what I could to become a patient, take care of my own plants, and do what I could. Long story short, they had a raid on my house, and they caught me with 73 plants. I thought I was going to jail. I thought just like anybody else, I had broken the law, and here we go to jail. Long story short, I go to meet with the district attorney, and they basically have case open, and they go, look, you're the hero of the 2003 San Diego fires. I'd be made look a fool to try to get a jury of San Diegans to convict the hero of the Cedar Fires of medical marijuana. I'm not even trying you. As far as I'm concerned, you can do whatever you would like with your marijuana as long as you don't break any state laws. I come to find out later that's 99 plants, 100 plants is a federal violation, and 50 pounds is a federal violation. Well, I wasn't going to go close to passing those, but the main thing I really realized is we have rights. We have rights they don't want you to know. We have rights that they are very, selective as to who they prosecute or persecute depending on the situation. Where someone like you look fairly healthy. They're not going to come directly after you because, or they will come directly after you because the courts, when you're sitting there in front of a group of panel, they're going to look at you and say, well, what's really wrong? Right? Or with me, my burns, my situation, my story is so obvious, it's too well known. They're very selective as to who they go after. This is why I became more of an activist advocate, because after a minute you realize, look, we all have these rights. Once you're a medical cannabis patient, they just don't want you to know about it.
Rudy, tell us how medical marijuana has helped you to cope with your injuries.
When I first started, it was eating it and putting it on as a salve. You can make the THC go into a lotion and cream, which goes into the skin, and once there, it stops nerve damage completely. You can vaporize it, which is pretty much like putting it in a mini bake oven and allowing the oven's steam or vapor to be what you ingest. And you still leave the green product, which isn't being burnt. And in not burning it, you don't get the carcinogens or the cancer-causing effect. I would also note that we're starting to realize there's other methods of ingestion where I've seen it in that new e-cigarette, where just the oil alone is being put in the e-cigarette so it's coming out vaporized. There's all new methods being learned as we speak.